Cathy. Look, there was certainly, we certainly saw lots and lots of comments around the place. Government asked us for a view on what could assist as what they understood would be a further essential item as lockdown continued. And I think we must remember we're still in lockdown. It's a tough job that government has, and we presented a view on what would typically be needed by South Africans based on our experience of the winter selling program.
So when we talk about then the difference between a short-sleeved T-shirt and a short-sleeved T-shirt that needs to be worn under a jacket or a knitwear jersey, where do you bring in those differential factors and what informs that?
Well, again, it's based on our experience as retail. We gave an opinion that certainly as I'm sitting here right now, I have a short-sleeve T-shirt under layers. I'm in Cape Town. It's cold in Cape Town. That's a real way in which short-sleeve T-shirts are used typically in winter. One understands there are parts of the country where it would simply be worn anyway because the temperature would allow for it to be worn. But the big concern that government expressed when they asked us for this opinion was that cold could become a problem for COVID-19 infections or in COVID-19 infected people. And there was a contribution clothing could make to helping in the health process. And we don't always understand as retailers the issues around health, but we certainly understood a little bit about clothing, and so we could make a comment on how clothing should be used in winter. Our consumers.
How difficult does this make the job of retailers? Because now the Gazette specifically says it must be advertised as being a shirt, being a T-shirt that you can wear under a jacket. So if it's not advertised that way, does that mean that retailers simply cannot sell it?
I think it's more assisting us in a descriptive of use. We will certainly make every effort to display it in that particular way, and it's up to the consumer. It's always going to be up to the consumer to use it in the way they best see fit. Someone may use it as a pajamas, someone may use it as an overshirt or an undershirt. This was simply to give an assistance as we understood the way in which clothing gets used in winter typically. Now, of course, there's no one size fits all. We always know that in retail. And we just gave one descriptive. People will use it as they best need to.
So does this mean that people will be able to buy short-sleeve T-shirts without having to explain exactly how they're going to wear it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, there's going to be no limitation on, you don't have to come in there with a whole long description. We'll certainly give suggestions. We always do that as retail as to how consumers can be using their various clothing products, and we've had great fun doing that with the South African consumer over many years, and we'll continue to do that. But it's always up to the consumer to decide how they use whatever it is they buy.
Micheal, I'm interested to know, why not tell the government or advise the government to sell everything that's in store?
Well, of course, it would be wonderfully tempting to just have everything we have being sold. The reality is, it is the winter season anyway. And we are going to be produced, most of what is in that list virtually is what would be on our shelves typically at this time of the year anyway. And again, Cathy, as I said earlier, there are enormous challenges for government around processes, and we don't want to be dictating to them what should and shouldn't be happening. There are challenges around how many people can be moving through public spaces, in public transport. This just gave us, and we understand level 4. I understand on a personal level, level 4 isn't going to be with me for the rest of my life. It's a very short period that I have to live through with my family and loved ones, and with the businesses that are involved in clothing retail. We see this as being very short. So there's a defined list. And I'm quite sure that government will ask us for a view as and when they think that other elements of clothing retail can assist in the process as well.
Typically, this would also be the time where you have clearance sales, especially for those items that, you know, are end of range for your summer and your spring seasons. And ultimately, on some level, people are missing out on the sales that retailers would ordinarily be holding now.
Cathy, that product is there, of course, but that creates all kinds of unfortunate numbers of people in stores. And we certainly, just in our own minds, would find that an enormous challenge. We're being very, very careful for the sake of our staff, for the sake of our consumers, to manage numbers. And those opportunities for moving those product ranges will come. As and when we have time and opportunity to sell differently, we will leverage those opportunities for those sales. So South Africans are not losing out. We don't see ourselves necessarily as losing out. And we need to trust our government for some of the calls that have to be made. They're difficult calls.
Well, I'll tell you what, Micheal, you're certainly going to have to send us a picture of what those cropped bottoms with leggings worn with boots or closed shoes looks like, so that we can all make sure that we're dressed according to specification here.
Cathy, I'll get our friends in the various designers to give you an indication of just how those look, and they really look very smart. They're a lovely way to dress for winter, and the stores are looking forward to just showing off exactly how great South Africans are going to look in those products. But they're as much a part of winter as all of those other products we talk about. You'll see them around.